Alright, so it looks like we are waiting for the crane player here, but we'll be going live pretty soon with the top 16 match for the Discord Cup, crane versus crab. And we're gonna get Luke in here to co-cast this. Let me see if I can.
Hello.
Hi. If the crane does a no-show, we have Zelo in the chat here. He's a crab player. He's already made it to the top 8. So whoever wins this game will be playing against him.
Yeah, we could end up with a crab mirror, which we don't see a lot of.
Yeah.
Those are always pretty intense games. I've seen the board swell to utterly ridiculous levels before in that matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting. So just to take a look at the decks real quick, Crane is running Dragon Splash, 3 Let Go, 2 Miyamoto's Fury. The name of the deck is Crane Dragon Noble Sack.
Yeah, we see he's on 2 Noble Sack, whereas you usually see 1 in a deck. He's also on Test of Skill, so running no attachments. So really just full up on as many events as you could want.
Right. Yeah, so the Karada district for Crab is gonna be pretty useless this game. But we'll see how it goes. Still doing the mulligans. So with the crane having 3 let goes, crab player will have to watch out for that. He only has 1 Talisman of the Sun, so he'd really like to get that to stick.
Yeah, I think you'd like, you always want to see your spyglass stick. You always want to see your watch commander stick around.
Yeah,
The talisman is the only thing he has that is unique. So
right.
I think that those let goes are going to get a lot of play.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the most common splash in crane is. Is it Scorpion?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 splashes that are common. You see this 3 let go 2 fury a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but with the amount of bowing and standing tech that's around, you don't see it as often as you used to.
Right.
The other big splash is Scorpion with either 1 a Fate Worse Than Death, 1 Calling in Favors, Meek Informant and Forged Edict, or 2 Fate Worse Than Death and 2 Calling in Favors. So,
Yeah.
and then a little bit less common, you can see a Lion Splash sometimes, which is a more aggressive tempo build, and rounding out the Crane splashes that sometimes see competitive play, you've got your just Crab Splash for Pathfinder's Blade and Reprieve.
So, crab player flips a couple of low-cost guys here. He's going to play both of them. He also gets the Imperial Palace. The crane player does have 2 assassinates. So, putting 2 Fate on the Yasuki is maybe a little bit risky.
I think it's fine with the Iron Mine out.
Oh, right. You have the Iron Mine. So if he assassinates, you can just save it anyway.
He would ultimately like to use the Guardian for 4 stats if he can before he has to sack one of his holdings, but we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, he is second player, so he'll be defending first. So he will get the first action. Well, Crane is actually going to pass his first conflict. So we might see Johnny do the same here. Yeah, he does. I've been noticing that it seems like lately there's been a lot of conflict passing going on. Um, and it makes sense if you're playing against like Dragon, but I don't know, I guess you just want to wait and let your opponent commit first. So being second player for Crab is nice here because you get to wait and see what your opponent does. Um,
I
I'm
mean, you have to feel good just stalling. You're winning the favor, and your opponent has 2 censures in deck, and they haven't honored anything. So
right, yeah. At the same time, you would like to use the Yasuki's ability.
I think at the very least we'll see him try to use that ability in the second conflict,
Yeah,
because his opponent can't hit back after that.
right. It looks like he's about to attack with the Brash Samurai, and he hits the fertile fields on the Iron Mine province. So I expect to see Johnny defend this.
Yeah, I think he would like to defend this. The Brash will auto honor and take him into breaking range if he doesn't. Um, a double defend could be justified here. He'd activate the Yasuki and be very unlikely to lose.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You have 2 holdings in play, so you can just maybe even use the Guardian's ability first. He uses Fertile Fields first, and then uses his Stronghold.
I hope he remembers to use Yasuki.
Yeah, he hasn't used either his character's abilities. I would have liked to see the Guardian's ability used before either of those other abilities, because if the Crane plays an Assassinate, then he's only going to get +2 from it. We'll see. Crane is still winning, so he probably just passes here, unless he does have the Assassinate. If he has, he doesn't have any attachments. What else does he have in his deck? He could have the Assassinate and a Bonsai. Yeah, I think that would be the only way to win this. Even then, though, if the Crab has the Assassinate, wouldn't really make much of a difference because the Guardian giving +2 or +4. And we actually see Johnny play a Watch Commander, and then he's going to use Shrewd Yasuki. So this is actually, yeah, so even if Crane has the Bonsai now, Guardian's ability gives +4, so it's just like a counter Bonsai. Um, So you probably just let Crab win. It's not really a big reason to try to win this. Crab is going to get 2 cards off of that. And, ooh, so we see a mountain does not fall on the Heated Guardian. Wait. Oh, interesting. So I think he's actually saving Heated Guardian's ability. So we're probably going to see him play a Skirmisher and then use the Guardian's ability on it. That's why he didn't use it that conflict. Skirmisher or a Wayfinder, either one. So the Shrewd Yasuki will be going into next turn with 1 Fate still and a Watch Commander. And he'll still be able to use the ability to draw some more cards. So he's already getting a lot of value out of that. It's a good thing, I think, that the Crane player took the Void Ring, because now Crab can't void off this Brash Samurai. We do see a Haruma Skirmisher, so he's actually going to be able to covert this Whisper and get an unopposed for the 1 honor. Small difference, but honor does add up over time. We'll see what province he finds. Looks like he finds Manicured Garden. So Seeker of Air is going to gain Crane of Fate, and then Manicured Garden will gain another Fate, putting him up to 6. So there is quite a large Fate advantage for Crane going into this next turn. Johnny spent Fate playing Watch Commander, Mountain Does Not Fall, and the Skirmisher, whereas Crane hasn't played any cards from his hand, I don't think. Yeah. So Heated Guardian gets used. We see a Test of Skill get played. And that pulls... He's going to take the Voice of Honor and the Test of Skill. So Crab knows that he has a Voice of Honor in hand and an honored character on board now, so... That is interesting that he didn't use that sooner, because if he had had the Voice of Honor in the last conflict, he could have canceled the Mountain Does Not Fall, and that would have saved this from breaking. Maybe he was trying to find a Miyamoto's Fury. He could play another Test of Skill. He drew 1 just now. Yeah, I think we are going to see that happen. So we'll see what events... Oh no, he actually plays Charge. So this is also going to prevent the break. Action Johnny's just going to pass. He is contesting the firing, so if he wins this, he can turn off Voice of Honor for next turn. And we do see him play the other Test of Skill. We see an Assassination, a Charge, a Bonsai, and a Noble Sacrifice. And so that is kind of an interesting... So he played the first Test of Skill before the Charge. If he had waited, he would have had this Duelist and would have gotten to see another card. I'm not sure how much that would have mattered, but he's going to take the Bonsai, and if I had to guess, maybe... Okay, he takes the Bonsai and the Charge. Interesting. So he can actually win this conflict now with the Bonsai if he wants. However, Johnny could have his own Bonsai. Nope, never mind. There are no Bonsais in the Crab deck. He could have... Yeah, I don't think there's any way for the crab to actually win this conflict now, unless he has two katanas, but that would be a big commitment to trade for just one bonsai. So yeah, it looks like we actually see the crane win that. Of course, crab is still going to get favor because of this imperial palace. So we see him claim the political favor. But not getting the void ring is, or I mean the firing is unfortunate because Voice of Honor is going to be turned on still now. We see the Iron Mine to save the Hida Guardian. It looks like Luke had to go do something, so he'll be back. Let's see. Ooh, so we see Kakita Yoshi. Unfortunately, he didn't get the favor because of the palace. So we have a Doji Challenger, a Cautious Scout, and this samurai was there from last turn, and then Crab got a Kisada and another Yasuki. Maybe you just play the Yasuki here. If you can find a charge for Kisada, that would be really good. Looks like Johnny is thinking about what he wants to play. He is going to play the Yasuki with one fate, so looks like he's just going to pass now. And we actually know that the Crane player decided not to take the Assassinate that he found off of that test of skill, which would be really nice to have here for this Yasuki. But at the same time, if he did take the Assassinate, the Crab player could have just kept the Iron Mine instead of using it to save the Hida Guardian. So we see a Doji Challenger with 3 Fate get played. Unfortunately, the Crane player is not going first. Action Johnny passes. I think I expect Crane to play one of these characters. Kasada with 2 Fate, IMO. The Crane has cancel for the charge. Yeah, that's true. We do know that the Crane has a Voice of Honor in hand. But I mean, having 2 Shrewd Yasukis is always nice. You get to draw. So yeah, he actually drops his bid down to 2. And he's still going to be able to draw a reasonable amount of cards here. And not only is it card draw, it's actually filtered card draw because you get to look at the top 2 and pick one. Yeah, the thing about playing Kasada with 2 Fate also is that uses up all your Fate. So it does seem a bit risky depending on what's in your hand. We see an Iuchi Wayfinder that's going to reveal one of the Crane's provinces. Reveals fertile fields. And we see a Way of the Crane to honor the Doji Challenger. So it's difficult to say what kind of attack Crab will do here. I expect him to do a small poke attack with the Earth Ring, I think, to try and get the Keeper Initiate out. or draw defense. Yeah, we don't know his hand. You don't want to let Crane have the Void Ring here, but since the Void Ring doesn't have any fate on it, I don't know if you want to attack with that. You could send... Okay, so we see a Spyglass on the Shrewd Yasuki. And no let goes yet from Crane. And it looks like he's going to try to break Manicured Garden here. He is going Earth Ring. Spyglass is going to draw him a card. So one thing that the Crab player could have here is a Gaijin Customs. He does have 2 of those in his deck. And that would allow him to stand up this Yasuki again to get another card draw and put the Watch Commander in another conflict. I think that would be reasonably strong. And then, of course, if he wins this conflict, he also gets the Keeper Initiate, which is always nice. I do expect Crane to attack with the Void Ring next. So we'll see how that goes. Looks like he's still deciding if he wants to defend. This is a political conflict, so the Crane box can get used here to bow the Heated Guardian. He's going to use Manicured Garden to gain a fate. Bowing the Heated Guardian probably won't make much of a difference, though. So yeah, he probably just won't do that. He's just going to let this break. So yeah, I think you just pass here as Crab. I don't know what else you would want to do. Just take the win, probably. There is a good chance that he's seen a reprieve or a rebuild already, so even if this... Okay. So he plays rebuild on the Iron Mine. I'm not 100% sure why you do that now. You don't need any more strength to break this. And he actually uses a court games to honor the Shrewd Yasuki. Yeah, he could be trying to bait the Voice of Honor. We see the random discard hit a policy debate. That's nice. But yeah, maybe he wanted to try to bait the Voice of Honor so that he could get a Gaijin Customs to go through. Another thing we could potentially see here is Yeah, and Watch Commander kind of punishes voice, that's true. Yes, Johnny has 2 copies of Gaijin Customs in his deck. Yeah, and that is what we see. The Voice of Honor cancels it. Another card that he could have here is the Talisman of the Sun. And that could let him send this conflict to Shameful Display and possibly win. But we'll see. It's possible that the Crane player has a Lego and is just saving it for a more important attachment. Looks like he's going to attack the province with Casada. Again, I think you want to go for the Void Ring here, even though it doesn't have Fate on it. We do see that the Crane is down to 6 honor, so yeah, he is actually going to decide to go with the Air Ring here. It also had a Fate on it, which is nice. He's attacking Meditations on the Tau. So this is going to remove a Fate from the Doji Challenger. It will still have 2 Fate left. And it looks like we're seeing a defense here. Yeah, the Voice of Honor has been used, so I mean, he could have another Voice of Honor. He has been drawing a lot of cards, but you could try to charge out the Kasada now if you want to. We see a defense from just the Shrewd Yasuki, and he plays an Ornate Fan. With the favor, this actually brings it up to a tie. So we could see the Crab player win this by using his box now. But we have an Admit Defeat. Okay. So now you just use the Yasuki's ability and Meditations. If you could pull a conflict character here, you could stop the break. You would need another Wayfinder. Yeah, he can't charge. Oh, but we see the Doji Challenger used to actually pull in the Wayfinder, which is interesting because now Crane is not breaking anymore. Oh, he's going to use the Crane box to bow it. But we actually see an Ornate Fan on the Wayfinder, so now it can't get bowed with the Crane box. So this does draw out a Fan from Action Johnny on a character that's going to die this turn. But it might be a slight mistake if you wanted to break this province. I expect Crane to probably pass. We know he has a charge, but that isn't going to really help here. The only way he could break this is with another Bonsai. I believe he's used one, has one left. So yeah, he is just going to pass. We're going to see Johnny remember to use Yasuki. Yeah, 2 Bonsai. So Johnny probably is not going to win this conflict, but he is going to stop it from breaking, which is nice. And then I think we might see him go in on a void attack here to take that void ring off the table. Oh, right. Yeah, it's a political conflict, so Banzai wouldn't help. I don't know why I was thinking it was military. Um, yeah, and he just doesn't have any political buffs, really. Now that his character is honored, he would have to play a conflict character. Um, so we'll see if Action Johnny has any more cards. He could have another court games. Dishonoring the Doji Challenger would be really nice if he can do that. Interesting. So we actually see the second Gaijin Customs to stand this Yasuki back up. So now Johnny is actually winning this conflict. Yeah, and we're just going to have a pass there. So probably not the best use of Gaijin Customs, but it does get him that win. Yeah, I almost would have wanted to just see him give that win up to the Crane player. All he's getting from it is 2 honor, although that does relieve the honor pressure you're putting on him. We are going to see an attack with the Keeper Initiate. He's attacking water, so he wants to stand up the Yasuki that has the Spyglass, I imagine. He finds Meditations, which is going to take the fate off the Keeper Initiate, but that's not the end of the world. Yeah, I'm not sure why he needed to win that conflict that much. I think it would have been better to actually just save the Gaijin Customs and take the loss there. So we'll see if he has the charge now. Yeah, dishonor plan maybe. He could just be really going for the dishonor. However, Crane does have 2 honored characters on the board, so he is going to get some honor back. Ooh, so the Crane was actually saving another Voice of Honor for that charge. So that's really big. And then we also see a policy debate. Three, two, one. Yeah, because it already wasn't breaking, so he just traded customs for the air ring. That's probably not a trade you want to make. Johnny is still deciding what he wants to bid here. If you're going to stick to your dishonor plan, I think you just go with the 1 bid. But it depends on what's in his hand. Yeah, he just bids 1. He actually has another charge, a Wayfinder, 2 reprieves, and a Spyglass. Okay, so that's a pretty good hand, I would say. He is going to discard the other charge, so unfortunately he won't be able to charge that Casada. But he does have the Wayfinder to maybe prevent the break on this other province. I kind of expect him to attack the Iron Mine, but he could just go at the Meditations now that it's been used. Yeah, taking second charge there. Crab has been drawing pretty good cards this game, so. And we see Shameful, so yeah, I expect him now to play the Wayfinder from hand to use this Shameful display. Of course, the Crane player could have the Assassinate potentially. But it seems unlikely. He reveals entrenched position. I expect that's under the stronghold. Brash Samurai honors. And then we'll see the Shameful display. So Crane is still going to win this conflict. Even with the crab box, it's still 2-2. So he will get the Void Ring. But the province will likely not break unless Crane has another card to play. Which again I think could only be... Well, actually, we know he has a... no. So we know he has a charge, I'm pretty sure. But if he charges the Cautious Scout, then you just box, and it's still not breaking. So, yeah, Assassinate would obviously be not good here. I think the only card he can really have that would break this would be the other Bonsai. He could have the other Admit Defeat, potentially. Ooh, we see a Wave the Crane. Okay, that works. But we're just going to see the Crab Box. And that's going to bring him out of breaking range. But we do also see the charge, so I think this is actually going to be enough to break. But it did take him 2 cards. Breaking Shameful is really big though, so I think it's worth it. We're going to see a Reprieve on the Yasuki, and unfortunately the Crane does not have a Let Go, so that is going to stick there. So, let's see. He keeps Kasada. That might mean we're going to see Kasada get bought here because we know he's out of charges in his hand. He sees a second Keeper and a Kaiju Envoy. Meanwhile, Crane sees Doji Hotaru, Brash Samurai, and Guest of Honor, and an Imperial Storehouse. And we see Doji Hotaru get played with 2 Fate. So if Crab does decide to play Kasada, he will not get the Passing Fate, but I think you sort of have to. Okay, he actually plays the Kaiju Envoy. Interesting. So he is just going to leave Kasada there. So this Crane board is very strong right now. And Johnny's actually just going to bid 1 again. So he's really going for this honor pressure strategy, but I'm not really sure how this turn is going to go for him now. We see Crane as first player with a pretty scary board. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to deal with this Hotaru. She could just get a double air ring if she wants to, and then the honor pressure is just gone basically. She could get a double fire ring to honor herself and dishonor one of Crab's characters. It looks like the first attack is going to be this Doji Challenger. So he knows that defend the wall is under this Imperial Palace, I believe. And then rally to the cause should be under the stronghold. So it looks like he's going to go for an attack on defend the wall. And I think you go fire probably, not only to get the fate, but also to honor Hotaru if you win. That would be my guess. What's left in Johnny's hand? We know he has one reprieve. And then the other card is a Spyglass. So reprieve and Spyglass, and then one card that we don't know. Yeah, I feel like I wanted Johnny to bid 5 this turn. 10 cards to 3 is just such a big difference. It's hard to see. Okay, so we see, interesting, we actually see a water attack. So this is going to force, it looks like both of these Shrewd Yasukis to defend. Interesting. I guess you sort of have to. You will get to draw 2 cards here. Yeah, the Yasukis and the Spyglasses. Yeah, Johnny's gonna try to find a way of the crab here. That's why he put a fate on this Kaio Envoy. I think that's the only reason you ever put a fate on a Kaio Envoy is you want to go for a fate phase way of the crab. So he draws a card off a Spyglass, and then he's gonna draw another one off the first Yasuki here. So we'll see what he can find. Skirmisher does work pretty well if he can find one. That's true. And he does have plenty of fate. So I think ideally here he wants to find Skirmisher and Way of the Crab. We've seen 2 Voice of Honors already, so you can only have one left. And it looks like the Crane player is just passing. So Crab player should be able to use his box and get a win here. Of course, it doesn't matter a whole lot because it's the watering, so nobody really wants the watering right now because all of the characters with no fate are in the conflict. Envoy can flop in political with favor. Yeah, that's true. So I expect him to actually go for... So obviously he wants either Earth or Void. If he has Way of the Crab and he can somehow resolve the Void Ring, he can kill the Doji Challenger and then Way of the Crab the Hotaru. And then of course Earth, he has 2 keepers, so that's always nice, plus it gets you more cards. So... Ooh, but Action Johnny actually passes his conflict opportunity. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think you... I don't know. How many Way of the Cranes have been used? 2. We're seeing a Earth attack on Defend the Wall. I'm a little bit surprised that this isn't... Yeah, I guess Earth makes sense because you're going to get the double effect with Otaru and make him discard 2 cards. That's pretty strong. And it denies the keepers. I'm not sure. So we see him actually not defend. That is interesting. Ooh, and we see a Court Games to dishonor Hotaru. So let's see if Crane has... Yeah, Crane has another Court Games. First one that Crane players use this game. I'm still not sure why he didn't poke with the Envoy here. We see Johnny pre-playing this Reprieve so it doesn't get discarded. It looks like he did not draw a... And we see a Spyglass also. Looks like he did not draw a Skirmisher. And we see a Talisman of the Sun. So he's actually going to be able to save this Imperial Palace if he wants to. And this is one very large Yasuki now. What we might see is we might just see him play as many cards as he can so he doesn't have to discard 2. I don't know what else he has right now. But I do expect him to move this to either Meditations or... Okay, he plays a Rebuild to get an Iron Mine back. So yeah, I do expect him to move this to Meditations now to take the Fate off of the Hotaru. Wow, wait. Okay. I mean, I guess that's fine. We see him discard and Assassinate at random. So Johnny is down to 0 cards now. We're going to see this Kai Envoy attack. I guess you just go fire at this point for the Fate. Yeah. And he's actually attacking Meditations, so... Yeah, he's just going to let that Fate get removed so that he gets a card and a Fate back. I think not using Talisman is fine, because... You don't really need the Imperial Favor too badly. I think he wants to keep this Kasada around as well as the Meditations for next turn. However, if Crane flips a Yoshi, he is going to be in some trouble. Yeah, 0 cards to 11 is not fun. So I expect him to actually save both of these Yasukis, since he rebuilt the iron mine. Ooh, but we see a let go on the reprieve, so he is going to have to just save the one Yasuki here. Yeah, Johnny is in a tough spot right now, to say the least. Um, the let go on the reprieve is going to mean that he does get to keep this talisman. And he'll have a fair amount of fate here, so I think he will want to play Kasada. Hmm. So maybe you play Kasada and Crisis Breaker? We see the Kasada 1 fate, so he could do Crisis Breaker with 1 or 2 fate, and then the Kasada dupe. He is first player, so he could go for a strong military attack here and try to get the Earth Ring to get his keepers out. He could also play the Witch Hunter with 1 fate. It'll be interesting to see what he bids here. I think you have to just let go of the honor pressure strategy because you're so far behind and you only have 1 card. You need to bid high here. But he is actually going to bid 1. Interesting. Yeah, Hotaru dies to meditations here. But yeah, I think it's hard to attack his crab. Like Soldier Token, no, it was Reality Fall said, Fury or Steward and For Shame would really hurt here. Johnny's stuck in crab from 6 months ago, so I think the Unicorn Splash is actually coming back now. I think we're going to be seeing that a lot more. With the dominance of Scorpion, if you use Talisman last turn, Hotaru would have no fate and would bow to mill water attack. That's true. Interesting. We see the Shrewd Yasuki attack military. But then he would have lost one of the Kasadas, yeah. Yeah, I think it's fine not to Talisman. He can still do it this turn if he needs to get the fate off of Hotaru. We're going to see this Shrewd Yasuki attack. So even if you have the second Assassinate, playing that would bring you down to 1 honor. So he doesn't really want to do that. We have a question, it looks like. Can I trigger meditations to take Kasada? No. Only if Yasuki has fate. Yeah, so Kasada's ability is active right now, which is going to cancel the first action the Crane player plays. He was wondering if he could use meditations to uh, sort of get rid of that, but because only the Shrewd Yasuki is attacking and he has no fate, he's not allowed to use meditations because it has to have the potential to change the game state. So he won't be able to do that. Whoops. Opened a link from the Discord. Yeah, he's trying to see what to burn in order to play Fury. That's probably the case. Okay, he actually defends with the Challenger, so he's just going to win the conflict on defense, it looks like. We should see the Yasuki get used. Ooh, actually, never mind, there's no holding in play, so unless he has the third rebuild, we won't get to see that. Yeah, I think that's even more of a reason to bid higher here. 2 cards equals 2 honor, yeah, that's true, so he doesn't really want to do that because of this Watch Commander. Johnny is thinking. We see a Century to cancel a policy debate. Interesting. This is a pretty big Yasuki. He's at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I believe, to 5. So yeah, that's another thing to consider. If he had kept his Imperial Palace last turn, he would have the favor still, and that Century wouldn't have been able to be played. It is going to cost the Crane 1 honor, so not a terrible outcome. And then Action Johnny will pass. So it's unfortunate that he's not going to be able to ready this Shrewd Yasuki to get him in another conflict and draw some more cards. It's also unfortunate that he doesn't have the... Okay, but we see a Spyglass on the Crisis Breaker, so that's good. He is going to be able to get some more cards this turn. However, he did just use his military conflict, so a little bit unlikely that he'll get the double draw for that. He's seen 2 reprieves and 2 rebuilds, so he would definitely like to see another one of those to keep this Shrewd Yasuki around, potentially. It is important to note that Kasada is turned off now, since Crane won that conflict. It looks like we're going to see an attack from the Asahina Storyteller. So if this guy attacks by himself, I expect it'll be military. Because cancels and cancer have the first 5 letters in common. That's true. Yeah, and yeah, I think he accidentally did political, maybe wanted to do military. Yeah, wrong side of ring. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that's why Unicorn is going to be the popular splash for Crab again, because cancels have been really popular, so playing a Fate Worse Than Death is not really ideal. So we see a defense. Um, I think if Crane threatens to break this, we'll see him just... Okay, we see a fine katana. Interesting. This is the firing, so he is going to get to honor Hotaru if this goes off. It's currently 3-5. And again, the only military buff in the Crane deck is the Bonsai, which he only has one left. We have only seen one admit defeat. We've only seen one let go. So we do see the Bonsai. So, yeah, he's heavily trying to bait the use on meditations. He's not breaking. I think unless he's gonna break this, you just don't use meditations and don't use talisman also. He could be trying to set up Noble Sack, that's true. He does have one left. We're waiting to see what Johnny does here. Ooh, so he uses meditations. So maybe he's just using that as sort of a burn action to see what Crane does. But Crane is just going to pass. Okay, he's going to talisman to Fertile Fields, so he wants to draw a card. I wonder what card he could be looking for. Maybe the Reprieve or the Rebuild, probably. I don't think we've seen a Wave the Crab yet this game. Yeah, no way of the crab yet. So we'll see if he has the... Yeah, it looks like he does have the noble sack. Um, if Johnny does have a way of the crab, you might just use that here. We see a watch commander. Um, he could... He could have a rebuild. Um, so he is going to break fertile fields. He's going to get the double air ring. That will bring him up to 8 honor. So yeah, all of this low bidding to keep the crane at low honor, and he's just going to get to resolve the double airing and get back up now. So, and it looks like he doesn't have a rebuild to save this Yasuki. So it will just be the Crisis Breaker. Yeah, so if he can somehow make it through this next turn, there might be a chance, but I don't really see it happening at this point. Um, yeah, I think he should have saved the talisman so he could meditations the Hotaru. Oh, and we see a Kakita Yoshi with favor. So yeah, this will very likely just be the game this turn. Borderlands Defender. Yeah, if he doesn't bid 5 this turn, then I'm not sure what he's thinking. Um, he needs to take some lessons from Mind's Desire, I think. They both bid 3. Interesting. I guess it makes sense for Crane to bid 3, because he's going to draw 3 more off of Yoshi anyway. Yeah, I think trying to honor pressure was not the correct line to take this game. Because you were so behind on board state for most of it, you really just needed to stabilize. We see a let go to discard the spyglass. Is that the second let go? Yeah, looks like it. So maybe as Crane you do another military attack to pop the rally to the cause. Although that does leave you open to a earth poke. And again, I think Johnny should have just bid 5 this turn. you would really like to see, like maybe a skirmisher. Okay, so it looks like he's just going to poke with the Steward of Law here to disable this rally. And he is contesting the Water Ring, so it looks like Johnny will probably have to defend with the Vanguard Warrior here. And actually, you still haven't seen the second Admit Defeat, and he only has 6 cards left in his Conflict deck. So, even if you defend here, he could still admit defeat you, and then Water Ring. Well, I guess if he admits defeat, or uses admit defeat, you can move the Crisis Breaker in, but still, that's 2 of your characters being bowed. You could just defend with the Borderlands Defender. I think regardless of what he chooses here, though, it's hard to see the Crane player not breaking on his political attack next. He does not defend, and he's going to assassinate the Steward of Law. That's fine, I guess. Fortunately, Crane did not have the other Sentry there. Oh, at some point we saw the third let go. It looks like he used a let go on the Watch Commander. Yeah, I missed that. So this is going to be 0-0 now, unless he has another Steward of Law. The thing is, we've only seen a political rival. Yeah, so he does play another Steward of Law. And I mean, I guess you just use Crisis Breaker now to prevent the Borderlands Defender from being bowed. Because you would rather that Crisis Breaker gets bowed than Borderlands Defender. And you can still do a Earth Poke with the Vanguard Warrior, I guess, to try and get the Keepers. Still thinking. I wonder what he could have in his hand at this point. Ooh, so we see the Crisis Breaker move in, but it gets Force Shamed, unfortunately. So this is just looking worse and worse for Crab. What you could do now is you could use Vanguard Warrior to put a Fade on the Borderlands Defender so she doesn't get bowed by the Water Ring. Yeah, and that is what we see. He could have a skirmisher in hand. That would be good here. He's only seen one so far. Again, I'm not sure why he didn't just bid 5 this turn. We're going to see them both pass. We see a pre-played Ornate Fan on the Borderlands Defender. So unfortunately he does not have another skirmisher, it looks like. Ooh, so we see the political rival. So yeah, I don't see any way for Crab to possibly win this. He's already used his talisman. Yeah, there's not really, yeah, just there's not any card he could have at this point. Yep, so Crane is going to win that game. That means he will go on to play Zelo in the top 8, so we'll have another Crab versus Crane match. Let me check his deck again. His deck is pretty similar to Johnny's deck. He has the Unicorn Splash. So we'll see how that one goes. And then we have one more Crab left down here, QQ. Yeah, so I think the main mistake that Johnny made that game was trying to pressure Honor too much. Having such a big hand disadvantage really hurt him, I think, but I'm not sure how it would have been different if he had bid higher. Interesting, there's only one dragon player left, it looks like. Did Phoenix Fox... I think he might have actually played that game this morning. Did anyone see that? Everyone was spamming the League media today. Yeah, it looks like Phoenix Fox and Shooter have played earlier today. I'm not sure who won that game. But yeah, I think Kingsley is currently streaming. Yeah, Kingsley is currently streaming Bill Jr. versus Cobalt Blue, Lion versus Crane. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop streaming, and then it should auto-host him, or you guys can just go over to that stream. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you later.